Hey, what's up, family? Welcome back to our Sunday wrap-up podcast. Man, I'm excited. It's a great day. This is the day that the Lord has made, and I pray that you are rejoicing and that you're glad in it. And if you're not, act like it. All right, believe your way into feeling better. Amen. But I have two wonderful ladies here with me today, both daughters in the faith. I got Kiana Creasy for the first time with us on the wrap up, and I have Nadine. Y'all know, y'all hear from Nadine now. She could be having them questions, which is good. But I want to jump right into it. This was really today. I want to talk about the last installment to this series we just had on Sunday. Man, it was an awesome time and a great response. Had a lot of people, man, responding to the word on Sunday, not just in service, but even after, phone calls. Different things, man. So I know people are truly longing for this message on the kingdom. But we talked about how I titled it "The World Is Waiting," and I want to start off and kind of get you guys' feedback on something. I made a statement on Sunday, and I said that the world does not have time to wait for you to get it together. Did y'all understand where I was coming from when I made that statement?
Yeah, I think
you did.
Yes.
You know, I was talking to someone, and I wanted to make sure we were working on a clip, and you know, I didn't want people to think, because I think there's a fine line, like of I didn't want people to start making the excuse, right, of, you know, not having to take responsibility for yourself and your actions, saying that, you know, or people, you know, how we do now on social media, we'll take a clip and we'll run with it. Of saying, well, this pastor is saying that you don't have to live holy for God, or whatever the case may be. Really the point that I really want to get to, and as we continue to talk, just wrapping up from last Sunday's message, was that I think we use quite often the excuse of not being prepared, or not being ready, or God is still working on me, or we are so self-focused, you know, about our own life and what we want God to do for us. And people are dying every day, not knowing who Jesus is, not accepting his atoning work, his redemptive work on Calvary for us. And I think that the church, we have got to get it together now. Yeah. You know, we got to be at a place where we arise and shine. I was sharing my wife. I was in prayer this morning, and the Lord said to me, I was just making petitions about certain things. And I heard the Lord say to me, when I said arise and shine, I was talking to you. And it wasn't in a negative sense. It was more of a, he said a lot of other things after that to me, or just placed some things in my spirit. But it's just like, man, the time is now, you know, like we got to arise now. You know, we use Isaiah 60. Right, as a text to work out of. And in the midst of them just coming out, I mean, think about that. Like in the midst of them just coming out of bondage and exile, you know, they haven't even rebuilt as a nation yet. And God's instruction to them was arise and shine. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, God, I ain't got a chance. I ain't even get a chance to get settled in yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, we still trying to find out, you know, reclaim our identity as a nation. Yeah. And here you are telling us to arrive. You're commanding us, you know, not asking, but you're commanding and inviting us into an opportunity to partner with you to be a light to a lost generation of people. Right? Like, how does that make you feel to know, like, when you think about the mind of God, and we can learn the mind of God for how he interacted with his people? I mean, that's what we have in the Bible, right? We have historical accounts and testimonies of people's lives in their relationship with God. And here's a situation where, I mean, they're just coming out of something, and then God is telling them, hey, arise and shine, for your light has risen. Your light has come. The glory of the Lord has risen upon you. Like, how does that make you feel?
All gas, no brakes, meaning I mean, like, kind of like what you said, like the world is waiting. Like we don't have, and I say we because God will find somebody else.
Right.
But if we want to partner with what God is doing, we don't have time to waste. And
Right.
that's what I'm learning, and I'm instilling it even my oldest right now, like this message, like it's been, hey, arise, like get up. When the alarm clock goes off, don't roll over.
Right.
Don't be a sluggard.
Yeah.
Get up. You don't have the opportunity, 'cause every moment that you waste, somebody, and I now kind of going back to like our purpose and even the message is like somebody could be waiting.
Right.
And again, God is going to do what he does. He's going to find somebody else. He's not going to allow his people to just perish knowing that they are seeking him.
Yeah.
But we have the opportunity to partner with him. And that's where it's like, don't worry about getting yourself together, Nadine. Just, you need to be my reflection.
Right.
But you have to be up. You have to be ready to move.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Kiana, what's your thoughts on that?
But I also think that I feel empowered because I'm like, dang, who is God that he is mindful, not just of me, but of us, where he's just like, he's not talking to us from like he didn't know that they were going to go into bondage or that they were currently in bondage. It's like, no, I see you past that. Yeah. So it's just like, man, God sees me from a point that is past where I see myself right now, and he needs that to be manifested in the earth and for that to go forward. So in order for that to go forward, it's just like, there is no arise, wait a couple seconds, like she just alluded to, like turn around, because I know I've hit that snooze button a couple of times. The next thing you know, it's like 6:15, almost time for me to go. And it's just like, no, God doesn't have, he's not waiting for that almost time for us to go. It's like, no, it's arise, shine. And there is no in between. You know, so, and he can't wait for us to be in the in between. It has to be, you do it now, like the word says, hear and obey. You know, and then everything else is taken care of. So just worry about what I'm telling you to do. Then that way, when the people see you coming and when they see your light shining, then it's not one of those things like, oh, are you a little bit lit? Are you dim? Like, what's going on? It's flickering a little bit. Your light is kind of like, I don't know whether I should go to it or, you know, from it.
Is it a hazard?
Yeah. What's going on?
Now, you know, you both said something and you just used the term empower, right? I want you to think about how empowering this is, that they were in bondage due to their disobedience. And Jeremiah, when the Lord writes to them, he was like, look, I know the thoughts that I think towards you, right? Like, so this situation y'all about to go in isn't because this was my intentions, right? You brought this on yourself, right? There's a set time and I'm going to bring you out, right? But, you know, he said the thoughts of peace and not of evil and give you expected end. Like, so this isn't my expectation for you, but you're finding yourself here because of your disobedience. But then to me, this is empowering because now they're returning from exile and he's like, all right, let's get back on track. You know what I'm saying? Like my point is, it's not the condemning, you know, I'm disgusted with you, you know, feeling that people have sometimes when they haven't been living life according to what God would purpose for them. And maybe we are facing the consequences of our actions, but it also gives me insight into the mind of God that he's like, all right, look, that's done, right? Like that's done, that you had to answer for that, but let's get back on track. Like arise, shine. And I love this. He says, thy light is come and the glory of the Lord has risen upon you. Like God still wants to work through you, work with you. Like he still wants to invite you in, right? To really your intentions from the very beginning is to partner with God. Like Adam and Eve's original, the intention of God for them was to share in his work and to share in his dominion and to bring glory to his name. Right. So to me, to anybody out there that, you know, you just kind of been, as I said it, man, you just kind of been partying in your pity. I want you to know, like God is saying, arise, shine, and when I say get it together, not going back to what we said, like, man, the world doesn't have time for you to go just come to grips with who you are. And that's what God was saying to them. Like they were in the midst of reclaiming their sense of identity. And God was like, lo, you know who you are. You're mine. Right. So let's go. Like it's time. And I love this because he says, man, the Gentiles shall come to thy light. You know, like, you know, they're going to be attracted to your light. I just need you to shine in who you are. Like who you are is rooted in who I purposed you to be, not who the world's telling you are and what you need to become, right? Because there is a gross darkness and we see it now. in the world. And, you know, we've been, the church, we've been too quiet. And I'm not talking about just vocal. We did a lot of talking. I'm talking about we've been too dim, you know, and we blamed it on the darkness, right? But we're talking about the light that comes from Christ himself, comes from God, being that source. You know what I'm saying? So when you said empowered, I was listening to you ladies and I'm like, man, like even for that person, it's like wake up. Like, and I think I alluded to this, like revival has to start in the church. You know what I'm saying? Like us coming alive to realize, man, this is who we are. This is what we're called to do. Let's partner with him, because there is a gross darkness. Let's just go back. What questions did you have? Let's work from there.
So for me, when we were talking about gross darkness, and I was just like, man, and you were talking about it's almost kind of like a tangible thing. Where it's just like, it really is tangible, because when you see, like, you can't equate it to, because you said something that was funny, but I was just like, yeah, that was ha funny,
right?
But it wasn't, because you were saying who followed Jesus, and you were like the disciples, and when they were talking about gross darkness, you was like, it wasn't like they were told not to walk in like nighttime,
right.
It was just like ha. And I was like, wait a minute, but that's when we shine the brightest, is in the darkness,
right?
And when there is light, darkness is void,
right? So
it's just like, well, man, had we had a false sense of light, or what that may look like, because if it's still dark and if it's tangible, then how are we deceived as the church into thinking that, okay, yes, Jesus is within me and he is the light, and we even sing the song, Jesus is the light of the world,
right,
and it's just like, yeah, he's the light, but he abides in us. But where has that disconnect been for us as those who say we are followers of Christ, when it comes to, okay, yes, I am the light, but it's just like, but where are you?
Right. Yeah. I like that.
What does that light look like then?
Right.
Because if we're saying we're the light, then maybe we have a false perception of what that light should really look like. Or is it one of those things where we're saying we identify with Christ, but the identification of the world is more stronger or more tangible than the identification of the kingdom? So then it brought me back to like, okay, we are called to be kingdom citizens, ambassadors in this world. And we're called to steward the kingdom, but we're also called to steward our citizenship. Because when we talk about like people who are becoming citizens of the United States, there's a list of things that they have to go through to be naturalized, right? And it's just like, and they have to obtain it and do it and make sure they uphold to it in order to keep that citizenship. So it's just like, do we have the same standard? How are we stewarding our citizenship in order for that darkness not to be gross darkness, right? A thick darkness that is covering the world. Are we ensuring that we are abiding by the kingdom principles and keys and rules that has been established already in the earth? Are we ensuring that we're doing that?
You know what? Before Nadine, I'll go to you. I think that's a great point, because, and maybe that's the issue, right? We focus more. Well, we've lacked a true understanding and teaching on the kingdom, because it seemed like, when coming to church, we valued being more identified by the world than we did the kingdom, right? So like we're learning, and it's like, wait a minute, man, we're ambassadors. Like this kingdom message, it's like, it's empowering, right? It's like, it's dope to be a part of the kingdom. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, it's like, man, the kingdom it gives you a sense of identity. It gives you a sense of, man, I'm important to this plan. You know what I'm saying? It empowers you, right? The message. So it makes me think, because maybe that was our issue, the lack of understanding the kingdom and the lack of preaching it, because you were all, especially if you were younger, you were made to feel like church was corny. You see what I'm saying? And the church, and I say this because not that it was done this way or we thought about it like this, but I think subconsciously to some degree, because even in church, we felt like we had to identify more with the world. Versus identify with the kingdom. But maybe it was because the kingdom message wasn't present. Because I don't know about you, but the more I learn about it, I'm like, now I'm like, the world is corny. Like the kingdom is so much, you know what I'm saying? Like I'd rather to be a citizen of the kingdom, to just have that sense of identity. Like that's my pursuit. You You know what I'm saying? And so I say that because you're talking about dim, and I remember being younger coming into it, and I'm looking at now this movement that we have of young college age that's taking place in our church. It's like, man, they want this kingdom. They want the kingdom so bad. But when I was their age, it was kind of like, you know, you were dimming your light if you're around other people, because, you know, you were kind of made to feel like, oh, church is corny, or this Christian thing is lame, or, you know what I'm saying? You were trying to find cool ways to present Christ. But now it's like, when you're in the kingdom, it's like, no, man, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, presenting that kingdom message, you can do it with such confidence.
Right.
And I think that lent to a lot of the ignorance and not understanding what it means to be, you know, for Jesus to say it's the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom, and the ignorance of that being missing in our church, maybe that's led to us dimming our light. You know what I'm saying? Like, not having the confidence, or even really the desire. Yeah. You know, because you know, there have been so many other things that made the church less desirable. Right. And I ain't talking about God. Mostly it was the people in it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, when you have a perspective of the kingdom, it's like, it's bigger than people. Yeah. You know, you see what I'm saying? Like, it's something you long for. Yeah. And I'm seeing that, like, as I meet people and talking or hearing about it or going and preaching it, like, people are really longing for the kingdom of God. It brings, what I'm seeing is that it's bringing revival. Yeah. You know? Yeah.
I mean, I think you hit it when you said that what is missing is the kingdom message. I think, you know, of course, the gospel of salvation, like, that is completely important. But once you know that I am saved, there's a life that you have to live out.
Yeah.
There's a culture that you
have to discipleship. Yeah.
That is the kingdom. Mm-hmm. But if you don't ever get to really understand the kingdom message, then you just stay stuck in the I'm saved part.
Yeah, you just come to church.
And you just come to church, which is great. You know, there's loving people here. You can make great relationships, but the kingdom, and that's I'm reading this book called Kingdom Kids for especially my old young Michael. Mm-hmm. I've realized that in understanding the difference between the kingdom and this world, right? I'm trying to understand what his gifts are. Right. But, you know, the world looks at things as talent. What is he talented in? And I'm trying to sound like, man, he's talented. He's very smart, but he's gifted in leadership. Right. But the world has kind of tainted his leadership, because in leading, he's leading for the world and for the accolades of people, instead of leading with the talented part of him, which is his intellect that God gave him. And I was just talking the other day, he wants to start a new club at school. And I was like, you know, and we were having Bible study, and the way he was talking about, I was like, man, like, dude, you really could, like, teach the word to kids your age. Right. Like, you're really good at this. He was like, yeah, but I don't know if they would really want to know anything about the Bible. And I'm like, he's like, I'll do it at church though. Right. And I'm like, oh, so you'll do it at church because, you know, you can shine at church, right? But why would you not do it in the world that you're in? I was like, do you not know that you're of the kingdom? And so we started talking about the kingdom. I'm like, man, like, so he understands salvation. Mm-hmm.
But understanding the kingdom
message and his role as a leader, even as a child, man, it's like, I'm glad I'm capturing it now. Yeah. Like, I'm really glad I'm capturing this part now, because now I can kind of guide him in his role as a kingdom citizen, and not just a kid that goes to church.
Well, you know, that's so confirming. We're actually turning this into a book, this series, but we're working on, I just met with Crystal from the editorial team. We're also going to turn it into a youth curriculum to teach our youth, because I think that when they come to understand the kingdom, even when I'm talking to Mikhail about it at home, or Ben, it's just kind of like, man, it just opens the eyes. It's intriguing. Yeah. You know what it is? And going back to this word, gross darkness, right? It's light. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, you talked about it, like the world and how it's tainted. And the reason it's tainted because there's a gross darkness. Yeah. And when we look at the definition of that, there's a few things I pointed out about gross darkness that I think aligns with this. Is I said that this is a darkness that clouds perception. right? Meaning people are spiritually blinded and able to see the truth. That's this gross darkness.
Yeah.
But it also is a darkness that leads to the origin of confusion and disorder, right?
Yeah.
So it twists things, it perverts things, this darkness. It brings about a spiritual blindness or captivity that affects the thoughts and the beliefs. And many times that will keep us from moving forward, is because we start to think, oh, people won't be, oh, I can't do, oh, that's the effects of this gross darkness. The other aspect is it's a darkness that stifles truth. Right. So it obscures communication to where things become distorted between what God is saying and what we're actually receiving. You know what I'm saying? Like how we go about. So it becomes like a spiritual barrier, this gross darkness. It blocks people from experiencing or understanding God's truth. And the last thing is it's an oppressive presence.
Yeah.
So it's actively resisting the truth. And when you were talking about Michael, I thought about that. Like, that's gross darkness. You know what I'm saying? The world, it's like it looks to filter out light, but the truth is it really can't comprehend it at all if we would just be it.
Right.
So in the midst of that feeling, if we would just like, you know what? Nah, we're going to be the light.
Yeah.
Like, it cannot put it out. So it goes back. We don't have to dim.
Right.
We can shine our brightest in that. And this was the promise that God told them. He says, and the Gentiles will come to your light. Right? Those who are out of covenant, if we would just be the light, I think that more people will be drawn to the light than we think.
That's exactly what I was trying to tell them. It's like, there's some kids that probably, you don't know what kids are going through, even at your age. I was like, I used to work in the foster care system, and those babies desired to belong and to have a connection with almost anything. But what if you could bring them what was, sustainable, what was based on truth? And then next thing he's like, Mom, okay, I got it. I understand. But it was just one of those moments where it was like, man, like the kingdom message is that much more important, because again, I think sometimes it's easy to know, okay, well, I'm saved. At least for me, I think it's an easy concept to be like, I'm saved. But the hard part is understanding your role now to play, even in all of your mess. What's my role? Even in my sin, what's my role? Because there's still a role in that. Even in it, you still have a role. You may not know what it is just yet, but that's the walking towards it. That's the, arise. Hey, just come on. Just come on. You gonna get here, but you've got to move though. And I think that's so important that it's got to be taught, presented, demonstrated.
And it's amazing you said that. I forgot, and it came back to me when you said that just now. The issue is, somewhere along the lines, we allow the kingdom to be separate from the message of salvation.
Yeah.
And that was never that was never how it was preached. It's when Jesus went about, he said he went about preaching the gospel of the kingdom. One passage says he went preaching the gospel and teaching the things concerning the kingdom. And somewhere along the lines, we allowed the message of the kingdom to become separate from salvation. It's discipleship. Right. It goes back to that, because I've got to see somebody demonstrate it. Right. If I don't see anybody demonstrate it, I just hear about the benefits. I just see a book of benefits, but I don't see how those benefits really apply to my life. Right. I'm not seeing anybody. Well, because it's easier to.
It also goes back to what you just said. That was very key. You said we have to be the light. Yeah. But we've been busy doing the light. Yeah. So we've been busy trying to work, like, look at me, I'm the light, I'm the light, I'm the light. And it's just like, no, just be it. Just be. Like when God created the earth, he spoke and it was. Yeah. So there has to be an understanding of being the light versus trying to do the light.
I think as we were talking about it, it's just dawned on me. I think that, it's easier to preach about a salvation that you don't have to demonstrate. And that's what salvation became, something that God was going to do, meaning he's going to come back and get you someday. Yeah. Right. So just hold on. Don't become tainted and just hide until Jesus returns. Right. But this message of the kingdom is different, because it's a follow me message. Follow me. You see what I'm saying? And we're talking about following Christ, but guess what? Christ is only here in the form of those of his disciples now. Right. So it's follow me as I follow him. And that brings about more accountability to us. And so, maybe part of the reason that there was such a separation is because it's easy to talk about what God's going to do someday than what I have to do today.
Yeah.
That's,
you know what I'm saying? What I have to be
teaching.
today. Right. Right. Because see, the kingdom requires for me to live it. It's
right.
because remember, and I said this 2 weeks ago, the kingdom is not in word, but deed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the message that we had before was we preach Jesus saving you.
Yeah.
And one day you go into heaven. Yeah. Right. So what it does is, okay, well, then you just pray this prayer, confess these words. All right. Now you're saved. Right. Go to church, be good till Jesus comes back and gets you. The kingdom says, hey, Christ died for your sins. You accept that and you become his follower.
Yeah.
Right. And now you're his disciple. Now you're learning from his life. And now you're being challenged to do what he did.
Yeah.
Right. And that's different. That brings a responsibility back to us.
Yeah.
And I think God is bringing us back to the real gospel.
Yeah.
Which is the gospel of the kingdom.
Yeah.
Which includes the entrance into that kingdom is through the death, burial, and resurrection of Christ. Mm-hmm. Right. His atoning work. We have to receive that.
Yeah.
Because that's the door. Mm-hmm. Right. His life, his redemptive, that's the door. But once we step to that door, it's like, hey, follow me now. Yeah. You know, and that requires for more accountability, as we said. And I think that it's easier when we just preached salvation instead of actually being required to now demonstrate the kingdom.
Right. And demonstrating it comes with understanding the principles and the key things that he talks about, like stewardship. When we talk about stewardship, that's an aspect of being in the kingdom.
Yeah, being a disciple and a citizen of the kingdom.
How we give our time, how we love people, how we express joy, and how those are all different things that we need to learn in order to really be a part of and experience the kingdom.
But those are practical examples of what it means to be the light.
Yeah.
When you're walking stewardship, your generosity, walking in the righteousness, holiness, love, those things, when you're doing those things, it leads to people being able to see the light of Christ in you. They can see that, wow, he's impacted your life. Yeah. They can see how he's changed your life, and they can see him working through your life. Right. Yeah. So that's the drawing part. That's the part that the Gentiles come to thy light. They can come your light. When we talk about shining, Jesus said it, right? Let men see your good works that they may glorify your Father, which is in heaven. The word good there means attractive. Yeah. Right. So the works that you're doing, right, people are attracted to that. And we're saying work, we're talking what you said, the kingdom values, right? We're talking about them being able to see love demonstrate through your life, generosity demonstrate through your life, stewardship in your life, in every area of your life.
Yeah. Patience.
And then what does that do? That moves over into government, moves over into education and media and arts and
those systems that we need to tear down. Exactly.
Yeah. And so it's like, God is like, man, if you guys just walk that out and carry this light that you now have in Christ into those arenas and shine there by executing those things, right? Living those things out, people will be attracted to that. And that's what brings glory to God. So it's really the understanding it is simple, but it requires, and I understand now why Jesus said that if you do not deny yourself and take up your cross, you cannot be my disciple.
Yeah.
Because really the effects of gross darkness that we came out of, many times we still carry it right here.
Yeah. Mindset.
Yeah.
You know, we still carry that old man, and that old man is still governed by those old thoughts, right? We're still governed by the oppressive nature of darkness. We're still governed by the clouds of the misunderstanding and the clouds of perception, right, that come from being spiritually blinded. And that's what keeps us from reflecting a life that really darkness can't comprehend.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. All right. So just a few moments here, man. Arise. We're saying that, right? Arise. What does arise mean to you? When you hear that, arise, right?
Arise is, for me, a quickening.
Okay.
It's a do it now, a sense of urgency.
All right.
Get up on your feet. Don't be lazy. Don't be lackadaisical. Get up now and do something. It's just like, hurry up and get up.
Hurry up and get up.
So my arise, you probably gonna laugh at this, me walking.
All right.
Like, hey, stop what you're doing. Hear me. That's what when I think of arise, I mean, I envision God saying, hey, hear me. Like, stand up, give me attention, stand at attention, and hear me.
Yeah.
That's what I've been doing like lately. It's like when I get too clouded, I get a sense of, hey, arise, get up, start moving. Don't take your phone. I just need you to walk towards me. And that just gives me, it's a physical thing that I've been doing here lately that is a spiritual response to, I know that I have an agenda.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get the day in my life to get too clouded so that I'm not following and going back to that agenda. The last time I was here with Lisa, and it's been ringing and it's been really helping me out. He was like, hey, I've got an agenda.
Yeah.
Every day I should wake up with an agenda. Like, I have something that God is calling me to do. My day is set out. And too often and I think this is a lot of people too, but too often we get off the agenda.
Yeah.
And me stopping during the day is me responding to the, hey, arise, get back to your agenda, get back to the day I planned for you, not the day that you had planned.
I go back to my military experience
Mm-hmm.
where when we were in formation and the commander or whoever's the commander of the flight will call us, we have what is called a preparatory command and a command of execution. And when I was looking at that scripture, arise and shine, I was like, man, arise is that preparatory command that, okay, get ready for the next command to come. And then that shine is that command of execution.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh man, this is a preparatory command and command of execution from
tell you-
our general commander.
Yeah, but you know, that's powerful. I'm gonna tell you how I line, because the Hebrew word arise comes from, it means stand up or establish, right? Stand up. And so the words, the letters that compile it, and it's so awesome, is it signifies the end of one era and beginning something new. And so if you think of it from where you guys were saying that, right? Like stand up, like wherever you are. And for them, it's very important because to some degree, man, life had knocked them down, right? And they could have looked at life like, man, we botched some things up. We were in exile and bondage for captivity for 70 years. And God is like, now arise. You know what I'm saying? Like, get up for whatever you've been in, whatever pity you've been in, whatever condemnation you felt that you were in, stand up now. And because I'm getting ready to give you this next command, right? It's like, stand up, because you're now moving. You're in the beginning of a whole new era. And I love it because you can really take that approach into every day, right? Because remember, Jesus, when they were worried about what they were going to eat and put on, he says, man, tomorrow has its own concerns. Yeah. Right. And when the disciples, when he woke up, I think in John 12, and he was like, hey, we're going to go into Jerusalem. It's like, oh man, you just said they were waiting to kill us there. And he says, are there not 12 hours in a day? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, are there not 12 hours in a day? And so I'm like, man, think about that. Every day, if you took the mindset to arise. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Like, if every day you approach it like, this is the horizon of a brand new, because the letter, it literally means the horizon or the cycle and agenda, right? So if every day you got up and you stood up from whatever you dealt with yesterday, good, bad, or indifferent, and even if it was great, what is his plans today? What is the command for today, right? We don't live by bread alone, but every word that what? Proceeds. So every day we should arise. And if we did that, if yesterday knocked us down, even as a believer, today, that's why I started off with, this is the day that the Lord has made. Like, man, let me arise and shine. Yeah. Right? And shine. And I love this because the word shine, it represents oneness and the divine presence. So it's the meaning that when God says arise, what's about to happen now is he's calling you to partner with him in this day. Yeah. So if every day we took that approach, like today, God is calling me to partner with him today. Today. Yeah. Yesterday is gone. Yep. Even if I was successful yesterday, can't stay there too long. Right. Because you're going to miss those you're supposed to impact today. Yeah. And if we took that approach with prayer, we would understand the importance of prayer. Right. Because today I need to, what's on his agenda? What are his orders for me today? You know what I'm saying? Let me get up. And like I said, if it was bad, let me get up. If it was good, let me get up. What does God have to say? That's the key to shining, really. is approaching every day like it's the beginning of a new era.
Yeah.
You know, a new opportunity, so to speak. So let's talk about that. We're going to wrap this up, but when you hear the word shine, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Illuminate.
Reflection.
That's good.
Yeah.
Illuminate and reflection, right? Let's talk about, let's take those two words and think about this, because also thy light has come lets us know that the shining, we are not the source. And I think this is what's so important. And this is why God could say to them in the midst of them still trying to rebuild themselves, rebuild the city, reestablish their sense of identity.
Yeah.
God says in the midst of that, arise and shine, stand up. Here's the order, shine. Why? Because thy light has come, right? Like you are not the source, but you're here to be a reflection.
Yeah.
And you can only illuminate what you reflect.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So it's like, this is why our mind has to come from out of darkness and obscurity, so that we can take the right posture to be able to get before God and reflect his light to the world. Like he is the source. That's why he can command that out of us, is that, look, it's never about you anyway. Right. When we say that the world does not have time, like, get up, because you're not the source. Part of the reason we're in so much mess is because we're trying to be the source. That we're trying to be the source of our own holiness, the source of our own right, the source of life. And God is like, man, no, partner with me. I am the source, and your job is just to be a reflection of the light that shines in front of you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that it's very, very important that we understand that from this particular text, is that we can do this because of who's doing it through us, right? The Sundays before, we talked about God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all we can ask or think, according to the power that's at work. But when you look at that word in Hebrew, it's a power that's activated through partnership. So now I know why Jesus is like, hey, go to Jerusalem and wait. Like, y'all can't do anything in and of yourself. Peter, if you do, you're going to cuss more people out. You know what I'm saying? You're going to cut more ears off. You can't do this without me. Right. But if you go and you wait until I feel you, and you do this in partnership. And Jesus said it, the works that I only do what I see the Father do. So he's the perfect example for us. And I say this because this brings us to the need for having fellowship with God. It will be very difficult. Listen to me. If you're out there, if you're trying to be a light without spending time with God, you will not be successful at it at all, because you'll find yourself trying to do it yourself. And when you're trying to do it in and of yourself, at some point, even if you start off great, you're going to run out.
That's that false kind of light that you were talking about in the beginning. It's like this, like a perception that's really not there. Like what do we really think the light really was? Like, we kind of fooled ourselves into thinking, and we did that we are the light.
We did that at church. And that's why I think a lot of times we end up getting into self-help messages and motivational speaking, because you're trying to motivate people. And when you do that, you have to be able to motivate them every day. But there's a time, and this is where I said this too when I talked about atmosphere. What do you do when everything around you does not motivate you? Well, if you have to find motivation out there, instead of finding it from the God that lives on the inside of you, and then just being able to trust him in this process, then you're going to definitely miss it. You're not going to be able to shine in a world with gross darkness. You know what I'm saying? This was like a darkness. They when you study, it says like that was in Egypt during the time of the plagues, a darkness so thick that it becomes tangible. Right. And we look at it. We're in a world now that, man, if you're just in the world without Christ and without his light, you can feel the darkness around. You can feel how hopeless it feels in this world right now.
Depression.
You could you see it. Depression, mental health issues, all of this is really a reflection of this dark obscurity that's coming from the kingdom of darkness that has the minds of people. So, man, my heart, I am so frustrated. I was so frustrated with the media during this election time, no matter whose side you were on, because and I get it. I used to work as a contractor doing warfare and simulation, so I understand psyops and psychological warfare and propaganda. But we did it so much against our own people that now after the election's over, both parties are shaking hands.
Yeah.
Right? Both parties are shaking hands and the people are still messed up.
Still divided, still.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm like, you don't understand the damage that we did.
Yeah.
Like the damage we did to our own people, and it's perpetuated this gross darkness. But this is why it's so important for us right now to arise and shine.
Yeah.
Like this is why it's critical for us. You gonna say something, Kim?
Not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before, you were talking about lamps, and you were talking about just different sources of light. So I really had to go to God about that, and it was just a question that I was asking, and I was just like, hey, he was like, when you look at a lamp, where's the light coming from? And I was like, duh, the light bulb. And he was like, no, it's not. He was like, it's the source. He was like, the only way that the light bulb is able to illuminate is being plugged into the source. And I was just like, but the light, he was like, no.
Right.
If you try to turn on the light and it's not plugged into the wall, are you going to get that light?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, no. I mean, Holy Spirit, you don't got to talk to me like that. Right. But I was just like, it just put two and two together for me. And I was just like, man, he was like, you have to be plugged in to me in order for anything to happen.
Yes.
Like, you can't, there's nothing that you can do in this world that you can do and say that it's in my name, in the name of Jesus, without you being plugged into the source.
Right.
And although different things may try to imitate, or even your talents and stuff may work for a while, but after a while, that's going to run out.
It's going to run out.
And people, and he was really just sharing, like, people are tired of seeing just mundane things that are like the church is trying to personify, right? Like, the shouting, and there's nothing wrong with praising God, like that, but just like, okay, what's next? Like, after all of that, what is next? Like, we see the light, the church is saying we are the church, we are here, but it's just like, okay, what comes next?
Right.
And that's what you were talking about, that discipleship is, and Nadine too, that discipleship is completely 100%, it's not necessary, it's a must.
It's a must.
It must happen.
Right.
Because again, that gross darkness is going to deceive us if we don't illuminate. You know, we're not, you look at it like with fog. Fog most times dissipates when the sun is illuminating its brightest, because it's those water particles, right? And it's, all that science stuff, right? But it's lifted when that light is shining its brightest. And it's just like, that's how us, the church, and everybody that is saying that we are followers of Christ, that's how our light, as you were alluding to, is going to illuminate.
Right.
That's how that dense fog, that dense deception, and, just things that are trying to just engulf our minds and not allow our minds to really just operate in full capacity that Christ wants our minds to, through him, to happen. Yeah.
So we and I love the example you gave, because the key is we have to stay plugged in. It's like the walk, Nadine. It's like, it's the right, like, we have to, if we can stay plugged in, even the thickest darkness, man, light has the potential to pierce it. Even the smallest of light has the potential to pierce it. And when you are in darkness and you see light,
it draws you.
You're moving towards it, because nobody just wants to sit in darkness. And I think that's what we have to understand as citizens of the kingdom, is that it may look like it, but it's only looking like it because there is no light, or it's flickering. Right. But if we can stay plugged in the midst of it, and understand our purpose is to allow men to see our good works, that they may glorify our Father. The light that is in us, we let our light shine, that they may see our good works. It will lead people to the Father, and in turn they become that very light and help us in this journey. Amen. So look, I pray that this series has blessed you as much as it's blessed me and blessed us. And if you're going back, you listen to all the other podcasts prior to this one. If not, I encourage you to go listen and subscribe to make sure that you get these wrap ups. And even if there's questions, man, in our iFam or even in the comments, if you have questions, man, shoot those in there, and we'll try our hardest to address those things. It's about discipleship, as we were talking about today. I think that's so critical. Getting back to the full gospel, the gospel of Christ and his kingdom, and then understanding our next step, which is to follow him and to be the light in this world. If we do that, man, the kingdom of heaven can invade this world in so many different ways, that we see the glory of our God, right? The glory of the Lord, he says, has risen upon us And it's for the purpose of people being drawn to him. So listen, until next time, remember, dominate your purpose by dominating your day. And also stay tuned. We got a plug for you. We got our new series coming up on faith. It's going to tie into this. It's going to speak a lot to what these ladies were saying today, just about the journey of it all. So, man, get plugged in. Check us out. We love you. And hopefully we get to see you in person soon. God bless.